So I'm having a bit of a frustrating day, and it's amazing how things keep showing up. I just picked up my son's board. It's been in the board repair shop. He's been really looking forward to it. I put it in the back of my truck, and then out of nowhere, the guy in front of me just pulls in and then pulls out. I think he's going to crash into me. So I jam on the brakes and the board moves up, and I think it might have cracked it. I'm like, oh man. There's a little chip out of it. It's just really frustrating. The board bag that I got him for his birthday, the zip, hasn't stopped working after like 2 months. His birthday was 11th of April. So not that long ago, and now the zip doesn't work. And so they go, look, have you got evidence that you bought it? But I think I bought it with cash and I didn't keep the receipt. And at the time I didn't realize that I could photograph the receipts, which probably would have been a really good idea, and then I don't have to remember them. But I didn't do that. And luckily they said, look, Ocean and Earth, who it's with, they're super cool. Bring it in. We'll have a look. Most likely they'll just exchange it, go fix it. So it's been a little annoying. I found out about a week ago that the grant application that I had in with the New South Wales Treasury, so they've got a minimum viable product grant process. And it's a matched one, so you have to put in as much money as you're going for. It's about $2,500 to apply for it, like going through and preparing all of it. And they write an email back and say, because of the current state of finances in New South Wales, putting the entire program on hold, which is interesting because out of that total money, I think it was around 10 million. So they would have had $20 million worth of development. And out of those, some of those would potentially go on to do hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, not all of them by any means. Most minimum viable products are going to fail. But 1 in 5, 1 in 10, 1 in 20 could go on. Now, my hopes, certainly, sure, would have loved for that opportunity. But now I'm like, okay, let's just put that on hold. The problem was the one that I was talking about yesterday, the frustrating nature of not having project management for medicine. And the ability was to go and sort out project management for medicine. Now, this is no small undertaking. And even with modern coding techniques, the minimum viable quote came in at $56,000. Which is a fair amount of money to go on a speculative, not sure whether this is going to work. Most likely this isn't going to work. But if it did, then the potential payoff and benefits to our patients is substantial. So that's been frustrating. I called up to confirm my car getting serviced tomorrow, but apparently the service people are not at their desk. So now I don't know whether I'm meant to be serviced with my car tomorrow or not. It's about a 45-minute drive there, 45-minute drive back. Just don't know whether I'm willing to risk an hour and a half for a company that doesn't have a booking system that's operational. Makes me question what's going on with their whole business. You know, if they can't do the booking system, then should I trust them to actually do the service? And yet, these are probably not related, but could be. I had a patient on Monday who wasn't checked in. They walked in, they saw the front desk, and for whatever reason, the front desk didn't check them in. So I'm thinking they're not there. I see the next patient, then I get an urgent message. Oh, by the way, they are here. So there's a lot of frustration at the moment. And then, of course, today, the Reserve Bank increased interest rates as well. So if you happen to have a mortgage on a variable interest rate, you will know that this is zero fun. It's a lot like having a horrific landlord who just keeps increasing the rent, and presumably those people without mortgages are just fine. So I presume a lot of the baby boomers doing just fine. But for the rest of us, renting or with mortgages, it's pretty brutal. And I was joking around with some buddies of mine, and I was like, you know what? It's good that the building industry is collapsing because there won't be any houses, and so the price of houses should stay up despite these interest rates, which is a pretty cynical perspective. It's like, whoa, where'd that come from? But it is true. We've had a number of building contractors go under with the rising cost of materials, and yet the government is meant to bring in another 500,000 people. Not exactly sure where they're going to go. So it's been a difficult day. It's been a challenging day, frustrating day. And it's just accepting it. But also being able to respond to what I can control in all of this. What can I do about it? How can we make sure that everybody gets checked in? It's a tough one. It's a tough one because it seems like a relatively small piece of information. But perhaps people don't understand what the consequences of their actions are. Like if they don't do that small task, checking them in, then the doctor doesn't know that they're there, and then the doctor runs late, and it ends up being a stressful consultation, an apology to begin. Hey, sorry, didn't realize you were here. System didn't get checked in. And so these little system errors happen. And it's easy to make them. There's a wonderful rule that I was exposed to and trained. There's 5 rules, but one of them was details matter. Details matter. And this is well worth taking on board, particularly if you happen to be a doctor and watching this, because we are faced with many, many, many details. And the effort to check and the effort to confirm and make sure that everything is done, like it's, even with this awareness, it's still a challenge because we've got so much going on. It's a very demanding job. Medicine's not easy, particularly in these times when a lot of people are struggling. I was joking around with the Australia Post lady. I know her quite well. Like, gee, it didn't seem that long ago that it was pretty good. We've just come out of COVID. Everyone's enjoying freedom. International travel opened up. Things start working again. And here we are 6 months later. It's a strain. It's challenging. And the sun will still come up. So it's important to remember that. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't, you don't. Perhaps it could get worse, perhaps it could get a whole lot better. But what you can take from this is that singular rule. Details matter. It's paying attention on a transfer. It's paying attention on what notes you make. It's paying attention on making sure that the dosage is right. And it's also being aware that we're all still human, and where are the safety checks? And this comes in when we're looking at this fragmented healthcare system that we're going with, where because the medical system isn't working so well, the government's solution is to bring other people in to do doctors' work. But what they have not considered is, first of all, training levels, and that maybe their doctor's work is substantially more challenging than it appears, that if they are not a doctor, then it looks pretty easy. You just go in and you tell your story and the doctor knows what it is and then you're fixed. But most of you watching are doctors and you'll know that there is many, many, many more variables going on in any one consultation. What questions to ask, what differentials to think about, what management to implement, what notes, what allergies. Is the smoking history done? Is the alcohol history done? What's going on in the family? What's going on for them? What's going on at work? And then a lot of medical systems have been designed with safety nets because there is so much going on. It's easy to make mistakes. They're not intentional, but it could be because of a lack of knowledge. It could be a misinterpretation of the situation. It could be a distraction. And when I think about what happened with that receptionist not marking the patient in, almost certainly there was a distraction. That they saw the patient said, I'm here, they go to mark them in, and then some other piece of information, whether it was the phone ringing or another receptionist asking a question, or who knows what happened. Something else came in and they forgot to mark them in. And they might have thought they marked them in. They might have even clicked the button or they clicked it twice. Who knows? Who knows what goes on? But it's important that that error is looked at and is dealt with compassion. Say, hey, this happened and it's okay, but we want to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Run me through what happened. Let's have a look. Oh, I remembered. They came in and then the phone rang. I picked up the phone and then the next patient came and I forgot to mark them in. It's like, okay, cool. Now we know why that happened. Now we can start to make a difference to how it gets done. Okay, before you take the next step, when a patient checks in, you check them in before anything else happens so that you know that they're checked in, because downstream of that action are more actions that must be taken by other people. And if the information is not conveyed and we're relying on that information, then either it changes and I can rely on it and the system works, or I need to adapt as the doctor and assume that the system is fallible and mistakes will be made and check. Now, it looks a little awkward. You walk out in the room and say, hey, Michael. And Michael's not there. And they're like, what's going on? There's no Michael. He's not checked in. And it's like, yeah, I don't trust the system. So there's a consequence when things aren't done properly. And because people are under so much strain and so much stuff is broken after shutting the world down for 2 years, that how we do things is critical. How you build your systems for running your practice is critical. How you think and your teams think is critical. And that singular rule, details matter, could be of significant benefit. It's hard to run GP practices. Do you know why? Because for years there was zero requirement or even no ability to advertise, to make sales, and all there was the fulfillment game. All there was the patients get seen. And so a lot of bad habits that would have prevented a business from ever even selling in the first place were allowed in. But we're dealing with people's health and it's important. And it's also important to recognize that we're human beings. How do we build medicine in this incredibly complex, difficult world that we're living in, with all of the tech and all of the chronic disease, and all of the anxiety and depression and mental health problems that we are now facing. These are not easy problems. If they were easy problems, then you could just triple the bulk billing incentive and have everything fixed. Or you could just make the pharmacist able to prescribe and everything will be fixed. But it might be possible, and I want you to consider this, that when people make it look easy, there is a level of skill that is substantially higher than it appears. This is evident classically in high-level sports. Every single one of those people has put in hours and hours and hours and hours across their body, across their skill sets, across their mindsets in order to perform at that elite level. And then I watch them and they make it look so easy that the trap is to think that's easy. And this is a major risk for our politicians, that they look at medicine and they say, gee, that all looks pretty easy, failing to understand the level of competence, training, skill sets, experience, interactions, trust, systems that are all operating to enable a medical system to work. And when you interfere with them or make significant changes under which general practice has been flogged for years, change after change after change after change, which is a pretty odd thing to do when general practice is the center of the medical system. And if you were trying to burn out your doctors and burn out your nurses and burn out your receptionists, then you could do that for years, and then it would be really good if you locked everyone down and announced changes to the medical system that affect GPs to the media first, without planning or thinking about the consequences, and then come out and go, oh yeah, you know what? Sorry, the medical system doesn't work so well anymore. Yeah, because you fail to understand just how challenging it is and how skilled Australian practitioners are. And we are dealing with a very difficult situation. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating, but that singular lesson from today's live, details matter. I want you to take that on board and pay attention across your life. Details matter. All right, that's all I got for you. I hope you have an awesome day. Catch you soon on another live then.